I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. You guys are ready. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with the minutes from the last meeting. If everybody had a chance to look at them.
I was going to ask Nicole, didn't you vote no on the snow removal? They have you listed as yes in the minutes.
We'll get that changed.
Stuck out.
Okay. Good catch. Any other? Okay. Have a motion to approve with the changes.
I'll make the motion to approve the change, the minutes and with that change.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the bills. Everybody had a chance to look at the bills?
I guess the only questions I have on that is did I ever get those invoices in for what he wanted to do? I'm not seeing any. Well, I see one from Corn Main, but that's not it.
He did, and I forwarded all over to Abby.
Let's see here. So they're not on this one.
Okay.
So we don't have quotes for that yet.
Okay.
Yeah, he didn't, I don't think he got invoices for everything. It was whatever we'd gotten last week, and I hadn't seen any new invoices today.
Okay, so we don't need to approve those here.
Any other questions on the bills? If not, do I have motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the bills as presented.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Moved by Paul, seconded by Nicole. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The financials will come out a little later, and delinquent bill list. So I have a motion to approve the shut-off list.
To say it's a much shorter list.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Nicole makes a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Paul. Any other discussion? John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries. City Commissioners reports. We'll start with Paul tonight.
I have nothing really new. It's kind of waiting for a lot of stuff to come back on the BGR and that kind of stuff. So nothing, we're just kind of patiently waiting for information to move forward with plans for next year.
Okay. Nicole.
So I just wanted to touch base. KCI and I know Zach were on a call last week for the lead copper rule. I'm gonna get the slides for that though, because he went fairly fast through them and it was really hard to keep notes, but the, idea is they went over kind of the rollout of how, the lead copper change will roll out to the residents. And so, we have, I believe it's 2027 will be, so we have up to 3 years to, basically the city has to acknowledge who the unknowns are, so those letters that went out for the unknowns. There is to be at least 4 attempts made to the homeowner to change out that lead copper pipe. And they had some other things too, for timelines, but basically at least 10% of your total households have to be completed each year up until that 10-year period. So I will get more information since he did go through it fairly fast. Is there anything that you can add to that, Casey? Anything that I missed as far as?
We get a 3-year grace period. We need to have lead and copper pipes replaced within 10 years after that, so 2037. And you have to do it at a minimum 10% each year of replacement. Those were kind of the bigger highlights that I remember.
So it's both lead and copper they want replaced.
Lead for sure, and then
Lead for
galvanized?
sure.
Maybe I was wrong on the copper. It was lead and galvanized,
I thought it was lead and galvanized as well.
Yep.
So I didn't think
once-
copper was an issue, so.
No, I
just heard lead and copper.
I think I
We'll
misspoke
get
there.
the slides because I was like, he really whipped through them really fast, and so it was
Yep.
it was kind of hard to keep up. And I was like, do you have some slides you can share on that?
Mm-hmm.
And there's-
they weren't willing to just release the slides. So.
And there's potential funding for homeowners to get it paid for,
Nothing that's been clearly defined.
Yeah.
but potential.
Potential. Yep.
They said there might be
Is there
funding, but they wouldn't give any hard answers on that.
and is there an alternative, like to just reline them?
I don't remember them discussing that.
I don't remember that either. You know, maybe we should ask him if he'll do that webinar for us on the next commission meeting or something, because
Well, and I know-
it's quite a bit, and we did go over funding and kind of I believe it was from the main to the curb stop, and how to contact your residents, how many times you needed to contact them.
Yep, and if residents move out, then you have to start that process over.
Yes.
Yeah.
If a house sells and a new owner comes in. So there were some processes that they put in place, but it was quite a bit.
Okay.
The only other thing I have is Zach did a wonderful job of going through the things that need to be replaced or fixed at the water treatment plant. Nothing too, terrible, and he had, written a list to Casey on kind of what some of those were, since we do have a little bit of money available in the water fund. So he's going to work on just kind of updating some of these things, just so that we don't run with any broken stuff. But he did a really good job, so of just staying in communication and kind of watching the budget. So I thank him for that. But I think that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. John, do you have anything for tonight?
Just talked to Jay here today. They took the snow blower to Fargo. They ran into a manhole cover, bent the, well, yeah, just they bent the backer on the cutting edge, but they're gonna get that repaired. But he said the old snow blower is up and ready to go if they run into an issue with snowstorms. Shouldn't see any issues with snow removal if it comes up. That's all I have.
Just be like the old days where it might take a little longer. Thanks, John. So I'm still working with JR and trying to find out on the electrical side for what we're gonna do with the water treatment plant expansion through ECRW to see how we're gonna move forward on that. There's some negotiations yet to still happen, and I'm gonna try to meet with Roy a little bit this week to get some other numbers, and then as soon as Paul's rate study is done, hopefully then we can offer some other things for them, so. After last meeting, I did send an email to Mayor Dardis asking about seeing if West Fargo would be interested in helping us at all on their pound set from the Fargo pound. And I got a phone call from the West Fargo Police Department one day, and it was Chief Nelson called and said that they would be willing to help and do things. And it's through their pound is actually through the West Fargo Animal Hospital. So everybody's thing goes there. So he was gonna do some more checking and go from there. I did let Steve know that that is an option as well. So we are getting some progress there. Lastly, it is in our budget. I just want to get your blessing and approval to make sure that we do this for next year so that Casey can order it maybe at the end of this year, possibly next year, so that we can get them covered, because there's still some good pricings on. But we had approved for new laptops for the office staff, 3 of them, and then new laptops for you guys as well. So that is all in the budget. Just want to make sure you guys are okay with doing that still. And if we purchase now, they wouldn't be paid for until next year. But some of...
Did you finally get a quote from, I can't remember his name.
Joe?
Yeah. For them, or?
Nope, we looked on Lenovo and found one that we in the office thought would work really well. Levi found it
It's
out.
a higher end and almost 2,000 off, so.
Okay. And are you guys getting new monitors and stuff too? Or?
We wouldn't do that. It'd just
Okay,
be
just the laptop?
just the laptops and the docking station so that they could dock into there, each of them.
And none of us have any complaints about the monitors right now, so.
Well, so my only thing I always think, future, if the doc has enough inputs to add additional monitors for future, because, if you can, put a third one on there,
I forgot about that.
I work with 4 monitors, and so I find it really challenging.
I suppose we could always get them the nice curved round ones that are out there that are like $1,200, but.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of those. But, it's just as long as the docking station has enough of the inputs to be able to add multiple,
Right.
more
And we hadn't
than
looked
2
at that
monitors on.
either, but I had seen some pricing that came across to make sure that they would, like I said, they were pretty good deals at the end of year for closeout, so I thought that would
Save me a trip, Levi.
save you a trip.
Yeah, I was gonna go around to the offices and do all the inventory and,
Oh,
you
that
save me that.
and then along with that, getting you guys regular laptops, because I know ours are at end of life as well. So 2 of us don't even really use them. So. Because mine is end of life.
Mine's way past end of life.
Yes. Okay. That is it. Oh, are you guys okay with that? So.
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
They're all of their stuff, I'm pretty sure is, if you look in their properties, they're probably overdue, like
Right.
pretty bad.
And I looked at CDWG and I looked at a few other places, so tried to find the best that we could. So. But we might as well take option of deals while we can. That is all I have. So, JR, anything special tonight?
Nothing for me.
Casey.
I've got a couple things. You guys saw that I sent letters to businesses for snow removal after the last, motion. We're just working on year-end procedure and getting the new budget put into Banyan. Also, Tyler Tech has set up a weekly schedule for getting implemented, over there. It'll be, between a 6 and an 8 month process if we stay on task. So fingers crossed, everything goes well with that. We'll be doing inventory, between now and hopefully the end of January, just making sure everything's updated and making sure that I have everything accurate in our spreadsheets. And then I did have a question kind of pop up today, regarding benefits. And I talked to Nicole about it a little bit. But in our policy or our employee handbook, there's not a set amount of hours that an employee has to work minimum in order to receive benefits. We have an employee who is very low on their leave, on their vacation and sick leave. And the question kind of came up. Nicole and I had both thought it was 30 hours that you need to work, and Nicole did find it. North Dakota states that it's a requirement to work a minimum of 30 hours within a week in order to keep benefits. But is that something that we need to have in our employee handbook?
I think if you put it on the list to make sure that it's in, so that it's just referenced there.
Yep, this employee needed to take unpaid leave, and that's the concern right now.
But yes, if that's state law, I would assume, JR, we have to follow whatever state law unless we went above or lower than that. So
our manual does say if they work less than 40, they're part-time
Okay,
regularly, and it says here they only qualify for certain benefits.
okay,
So I would raise that issue. If they're not even at 40, they're not technically full-time with us. But
Okay.
yes, if 30 is the minimum, that's at least the minimum, but
okay. So then, in the event that commission were to go with 40, just like what the handbook says, what's the procedure for insurance? That's the big one.
If they don't maintain an authority.
Yeah, I don't think ND-PERS would be very lenient with saying, okay, an employee's off our insurance, but they're added back on now. I don't know how lenient they would be with that. Just in talking to a few, just a few people that I kind of know, it sounds like some companies will require employees to kind of prorate that week and pay for that week of their vacation. Of their insurance. I'm just not real sure how to handle this, I guess. So
my thought, and this is just my thought, is of the month, they need to work an average of whatever we want to set. Maybe it's 36, maybe it's 30 in order to keep insurance. And if they fall below that on an average, they need to then get prorated based off of. So it's not a 1 week you put in 32 hours, so you got to pay that week, but then the next week you don't. It's just an average over the month.
Yeah, and it's not, it's a little gray, because if you go out and do a little bit of research into what is considered full-time to keep health insurance, it says under the Affordable Care Act. Is that state law, though, is the thing, and I was gonna call Department of Labor just to see, but I have a feeling they're gonna say either under the Affordable Care Act, it's 30 hours that you have to carry at least, or they could go the other way and say it's up to that particular employer. It used to be stated, what it was, but I haven't seen that in so long since the Affordable Care Act came up.
So if it's 30, could we say if you fall below the average of 30 hours for the month, that you would need to proactively, you would have to pay back for whatever your insurance is?
Probably something to, I think, do a little bit of little bit of research
Yeah.
on, just to make sure we don't have something definite that isn't right.
So is that what you guys think? Like 30 hours, if that's the minimum on average? And then ask JR if he would double check that to make sure that it's legal for us to do. And so if you fall, so the first week you have 28 hours, then you have 40 hours, then you have 40 hours, then you have 40 hours.
Right.
On average, you wouldn't fall below, so it wouldn't be an issue. But if you had 28, 28, 28, 28, then you would fall below, so you would need that average for the month. So you'd have to prorate it, so you have to pay back for that month,
Right.
because we already prepay for the month.
Yeah, I don't know, I would say probably a little bit more research. I know private sector is always different than public, so that's where I always want to make the differentiation, and so it was very gray today. It's like I saw 30 everywhere, but they talk about the Affordable Care Act, and it's like, well, is that public and private, or is that just private sector? I don't know. Like, I just don't have.
But
the
we're
answer.
paying for 100% of insurance, so
Yep.
they're not fulfilling their requirements of,
And they did say, actually, now that you brought that up, Levi, I did read something about of falling below the 30, and the part-timers, and it's a little,
because I know for Sanford, or what it used to be, it's 32 hours if you went below, because or 36, there's 32-hour employees is considered full-time plus 40 hours based on their, because they do 12-hour work shifts, so.
right,
But I think if 30 is the number, I would assume JR, if they fall below 30, no matter what,
Sanford still do 32?
that they would,
See, and that's what I'm wondering, is it what it's set, what we can set it at, or is it at what the Affordable Care Act says? That's what my question was. To be able to answer that, and if it's not, doesn't have to be 30 under the Affordable Care Act, then what does the commission want to set it at?
I think we can go higher, not lower, so I'll
Well,
find
that's
out.
what I'm wondering.
I can't answer it right now, but
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering,
I can
like,
find out.
okay, yeah, I think,
Casey and I kept seeing 30, 30, 30, so I was like, okay, but I know other employers have had different hours
right.
for it, so.
But then I guess my question is, why are we having to be worried about this? Why do we have people that are falling down to a 30 when they're full-time employees? Is there, no, I guess that would be my next question is, why are we having this issue? Do we have, and that could be in a multitude of things, but that would be one thing I think we'd want to address at the same time, so.
Right. And I know I've talked to Casey about it before, and she was addressing that, but obviously it went farther than we hoped, so. I would just say document, and we'll keep working and let the employee know that in the future, they may have to pay back.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have then.
Okay, thank you, Casey. I don't think we have anything from Sheriff's Office or City Engineer, nothing on beautification. The Renaissance Zone application, you guys have the new one, and my understanding is that it's been approved conditionally through the state?
Ricky helped Nick fill in the questions that you guys had from the last meeting.
Okay, so as this one is submitted, would be approved by the state as it went through?
Yes.
So then we just need a motion to approve unless you have any other questions on it.
I'll
You're
make the motion
okay,
to
everything's
approve.
good now? The changes that were made?
Yep, they showed up, they're making capital improvements, over 75 for rehab, and they have a correct completion date, so.
And it's confirmed that they have not even started work yet, so
Okay,
I'll make the motion to approve.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Nicole, seconded by Paul. Any other discussion? Paul?
Yes,
Nicole?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries. We need to have that second reading of the sales tax with that amended changes. I just need a motion to approve the second reading.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved with Paul, seconded with Nicole. Any other discussion? John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Any yes for me? Motion carries. The utility rate budget amendment discussion.
Yep, I decided to print it off for you guys just to kind of follow along a little bit. All of the budget pages have been updated with what you guys had approved for salaries and wages a few meetings back. So these are just the updated numbers. Where I would like a majority of your attention would be on the 2025 rate suggestions. The very first page looks like this. It has water rates on it. It's quite a few pages back. If anybody needs a reference. Oh, you know what? I think I've got it up here too. Sorry. So I'll just drop and drag.
Way in the back.
It is. It's way in the back. Yep. Yeah, we had quite a few budget pages to update. Okay, here we go. So it looks like this one. Okay. For calculations, I gave two options. The very first option is having, bless you. The very first option is having no transfer whatsoever come into water. In order to make your expenses be able to, be justified with revenues, you need to make at least $870,000 with option one. That would entail bringing your water rates up from the current rate, which is 0.03 per cubic foot, up to 0.04 per cubic foot. If you choose to do a $70,000 transfer, which would be option two below, then you would need to make $800,000, and you would only have to bring it up to 0.035 for the proposed water rate, and base rate would stay the same with each option.
If we did the transfer, I assume we're gonna have to do a transfer again next year to make the budget work again.
Unless you'd like to raise rates again, but yeah.
Right.
Yep, so that would be the water one.
Well, my fear is like if you raise rates every year, you know what I mean? Like, 'cause I feel like a small progression up is great, but at the same time, would it sense, do we try to increase it enough to where it's not another increase. I think people get more used to more of the rates of what they are than to continually paying up, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 1 cent.
Right. It's a penny, so I wonder if we shouldn't raise it, maybe.
A penny?
Yeah.
This one was a lot kinder to work with than the sewer one. So just being very blunt, this one was a lot kinder. So, but yep, the sewer rate suggestion is on the next page, but I thought we'd tackle one by one, so. And if you guys would like me to recalculate at other transfer amounts, I sure can. But I just thought these two would kind of be a nice, couple nice options to look at. So we're checking out this page. It's in that packet that you got, Jason, and it looks just like this one. So, yep. Yep, and what I was just telling everybody, I gave two options for rate increases. Option number one is to not do a transfer out of debt retirement. And that would mean needing to bring up your cubic foot from 0.03 up to 0.04 per cubic foot. If the commission would like to do a $70,000 transfer, then they would need to make $800,000 in order to make the water fund float. And that would constitute increasing from 0.03 per cubic foot up to 0.035 per cubic foot. Base rates would stay the same.
So with that, what are your guys' thoughts to go with? Whether we do the transfer or to move it up to 1 cent? And if you do, I just need a motion. I think we'll do each individually. So.
On the water side?
Yep, just the water.
And like I was telling Nicole, the water fund was a lot kinder to work with than the sewer fund. That one's gonna be, it's a little more drastic just because of the salaries that were added in. So, this one was a pretty minor transfer suggestion than the sewer one. So,
Anybody have any discussion?
Like the rate increase, either way, would that kind of count for the next year or two? Oh, you even look at that.
no, it wouldn't. So, well, it would if you guys keep all of your expenses the same next year. So no increases on salaries or other expenses, so.
And for our water, do we typically, I'm assuming, have increases in that every year to us as well on the charging side?
Typically, yeah. I mean, if East Central increases, we still pay their increase.
Right. So,
Yeah. And hydrants haven't gotten any cheaper. If you guys are looking at doing hydrants, those used to be, between $5,000 and $7,000 a piece to do. Now you're looking at 15 to 20. So it's really increased over the last 6 or 7 years. So
I know we've got 2 hydrants,
mhm.
potentially 3 we need. I guess for me, I wouldn't mind seeing a 5 cents, a 2 cent increase, just to try to get ahead of not having to transfer or be behind next year. But also with potential increases of anything else too, then we don't fall flat.
Well, my only thought is if you do more than that, then the next page, what are we gonna do there?
Well, so that's matter, yeah. I was hoping you could just X that one out.
Do you want to look at sewer right now just to?
Yeah, maybe let's look at sewer first.
Okay, sounds good. So I gave 2 suggestions on sewer as well, and I'll put it up on the screen too. Okay, so no transfers. If you guys were to do no transfers, it would have to be a pretty steep increase. In order to make your sewer fund float, you would need to make $324,000 in sewer revenue. In order to achieve that, you would have to increase your rates from 0.005 per cubic foot up to 0.0327 per cubic foot. That's no transfers. Plus, you're going to have to increase your base rate. This was just an option. You don't have to increase the base rate, but it's compared to what you would need to increase the actual usage for. I just thought that would be appropriate to increase the base. If you did want to do a transfer, I threw a number out there, 150,000, just because I saw that it would help rates out a little bit if we did 150,000. You would have to go just over double what your rates are. So 0.005 is your current rate. You'd have to raise it to 0.011 and raise your base from $9.50 up to $12. So. Yeah, like I said, the water is a lot kinder than the sewer is. And sewer this year, sewer didn't have salaries or benefits coming out of it. For the 25 year, it does. And in previous years, it had too. So it had, and I think that's where last year when we did transfers into sewer, that's where some of the deficit was. Salaries and benefits really weren't planned for in years past out of sewer, so.
What do other community sewer rates look like? You look at
I didn't.
comparison?
I did not. I could go get the rate book though, in my office if you need me to.
I have it, I'm just trying to find it.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what I saw in there too, because I know on the water side, we were fairly a little bit lower, I think, than other communities. Sewer, I think we were a little, we were definitely lower, but not not the lowest.
Yeah, out west had quite a few high rates.
I think, yeah.
We're pretty low if I remember right from previous years, but I'm trying to find out.
Yeah, I know we're not.
Especially on sewer, we are extremely low.
It's, 2022 sewer survey is on the League of Cities website. Put out with that, but
We did get true ups for up to 23. We haven't for the 24 year. That was for water. So any way to calculate average, like average increase, like it would increase average bills $18 a month, $12 a month, $4 a month.
Probably could, yeah.
I wonder what that would look like.
I couldn't do it right now because my
Right.
tablet's pretty small, but, and I'd have to look at what an average bill is.
Right.
well, I can tell you that based on the second option, their sewer rate would double, just straight up.
True that.
I don't know the top, but that's more math than I can do right now.
It's been a long day for you as well?
It's been a very long day. Well, this is great for 100 gallons, 1,000, there's
Per cubic foot.
per cubic foot.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So this was 2020, I had looked at it. Or 2022, I looked at it. At that time, we were at, on average, $64.06 for water usage, based on $6,000, or 6,000 gallons. And so I compared it to other cities around of comparison. Cavalier was at 79, Tom's was at 102 for the same rate. New Salem's at 122, Langdon's at 69, Castleton's at 54, Mayville's at 73, Park River's at 82. So I was, at that point, I was trying to do it based off of similar sized cities. Harvey was at 59. I just can't find that. The rate study book.
So if we tweak any of these, are there any other spots then that would save us money because we don't have to do transfers and we could reduce elsewhere? Because we always talk about doing these transfers.
For these two funds, for water and sewer, these were the only funds that I didn't budget to have transfers in them initially. And these are the only two funds that I would suggest having transfers come in from your guys' debt retirement fund. Debt retirement, it's pretty limited based on those 5 priorities. You know, so I guess it just kind of depends on what you want to do with debt retirement.
Remember you were looking at bringing some of those in to pay off some of the outstanding loans that we have going for them? Or is that different? Remember you're planning on doing some funds to pay off some of our other stuff so we didn't have to do as high increases?
I'm trying to think here. There was nothing in electric. Electric, I'm actually going to suggest to keep the same since salaries aren't increasing. So, you know, I didn't see any reason to need to increase that. Water and sewer are the ones that have been hit the hardest. Your guys' general fund, you know, your guys' reserve got better in the general fund after no raises. Your street already has a transfer scheduled for 200,000. I'm gonna walk my way through this really quick. Yeah, your sales, we've got sales tax scheduled to go into your general fund, sales tax scheduled to go into your street fund. Little bit from your typical, utilities and streets to go into your equipment fund, sales tax to come into the community center fund. So nothing, no areas, no other areas would really be affected like you're asking that I can think of right now. So, yeah, but yeah, the way I kind of calculated rates was very baseline, based on the expenses that were either requested or approved. So, and those are those two first options that I put on here. As far as your guys' other debt, you did pay off, we did pay off one of our loans earlier this year. In November, we did that, so save a little bit of interest there. The other ones were still fairly high balances, so we thought we'll keep those as is until we have a little bit more of a stability within our budget to see where you can pull dollars from. And I think you guys have 4 outstanding loans, if I remember right. It's either 3 or 4. Yep.
Moving in the upward trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
Give you a little snapshot, I just looked at my bills, I'm doing about 500 cubic feet a month. Water.
Which a cubic foot is just under 7.5 gallons. So if you think of it that way too.
So we are ranking right now, we're a little higher than, based on A2S's survey, we're at 66.56, Rugby's at 69, Appleton, Minnesota's at 73, Montgomery's at 76, Laramore's at 78, Minto's at 95, Baudette, Minnesota's at 80, Newtown's at 99.50, and those are based off of groundwater systems, so those that are using the same systems. Thompson is right at 66, Canton, South Dakota is at 65, Warmington, Minnesota is at 62, Jackson, Minnesota is at 62, Del Rapids, South Dakota is at 57, and then there's a few lesser. The lowest is at 49.71, Halstead's at 50.60. So we're kind of in the middle of the pack, and with that change, it's not going to change us out of the middle of the pack.
And that's on the water, right?
That's on the water side, yep. Our biggest cost is our fixed cost. So our 42.50. Our rate itself is not.
That one's high?
That is where most of our money is generated from, is on that base rate.
What are other community base rates that have that, by?
It doesn't say, it's just a graph that shows what each one is.
You guys just raised your base rate from $40 to 42.5 December of 22, and that was to pay for that USDA loan.
Correct.
So, yep, and it was $2.50 in water and then $2.50 in sewer.
And what most of that is covering is that pays for the water treatment plant till that is paid off in 2037.
Something like that. Yep.
My thought on it, to try to help out, because that's the part of what the sales tax is used for, is to keep down transfer, or keep down rate increases, would be to change the water as is, and then look at that $150,000 transfer in under sewer to cover the rate change for this year.
Are you talking sales tax or debt retirement?
Debt retirement, which is
Okay.
sales.
What's in debt retirement?
300 and some odd dollars, I can't quite remember.
So you're projecting keeping the water just as is at that 3, but then change.
No, change water up to
Change water up to penny.
that 4, that penny, and then change the sewer to that proposed rate,
And then bring in the 150.
and then bring in the 150. Because if you look at sewer, wastewater, on non-mechanical wastewater systems, which is us, we are the 4th lowest. So Cleveland, Utah is at 1150. Orangeville, Utah is at 1281. Hazen is at 13, and we're at 1401. And then if you go from there, Hebron's at 15, Thompson's at 1570, Washburn's at 1615. Minto's at 17, Rugby's at 25, Newtown's 26, Larimer's 27, Kildare's 29, Mapleton's 30, Fairfax, Minnesota's 32, Perham, Minnesota's 33. Pixton, South Dakota's 36, Phillips, South Dakota's 37, Gaylord, Minnesota's 37. And then there's Castleton's at 5162. Baudette, Minnesota's at 7550. Angster, South Dakota, or Elster, South Dakota, 7737. So we are by far much lower on the wastewater side. Halstead has a mechanical wastewater system, and they're at $80.53 a month on average. Foston's at 61. Beulah's at 21. If you want to go to Le Sueur, Minnesota, it's $137.86 a month for wastewater. Don't move there.
Just for the sake of conversation, I'll make a motion that we do the proposed rates that Casey's had here with no transfers on either water or sewer.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
My main point for that is I don't want to take so much money. I think we have to start having these things support themselves. And no better time than now. We got plenty of things we can use that other money for if we need to help in other areas. That's just my feelings. I think at some point we have to, if it costs us this much and we're being, and we're spending our money wisely on in those areas, water and sewer, if it costs us, it costs us. There's really not much we can do. That's the way it is nowadays. Things are getting expensive, so.
Well, that would leave us, money too, like you said, for those incidentals or the cash
Exactly.
reserve that we haven't been building up or paying off the loans. Like,
Right.
it's kind of a clench right now, but I think when you get used to that increase over time, you know what it is instead of a surprise every single year that it keeps going up. I think it's a little bit easier to wrap around. I could be wrong, but
I only thought that's why, I think doing that $150,000 transfer would help then with the anticipation that next year we need to move up, but I'm okay with moving if you guys are with that, because ultimately, we have to make these funds self-sustainable. The ones that we never will, our street department will never become self-sustainable.
Do you think though, if you know, do the less of the transfers and these types of things, that kind of money could go more towards the streets to getting that kind of done and paid off, you know, a little bit quicker than it normally would?
Well, it depends on how you look at it, because in the debt retirement, you have to look at first, make sure that we're not raising rates. So we have to do that as a first priority, not like we're paying off, you know, doing a project. We can't just do that out of debt retirement. There's 5 priorities that we have to hit, and I think that's one of the lower ones, is doing a project with those funds. It's meant to pay off.
Priority 1 is using it to not increase the mill levy, or to pay off debt in order to not increase mill levy. Then second priority is utility rates.
Yep.
Yep.
How much money do we put into that retirement each year?
So that's a split out of your guys' sales tax that comes in.
I would say on average it's about 250,000.
It's, give or take
About
that.
150,000 each year?
250.
250.
Yep, about that, because it's a percentage off of your sales tax. The largest percentage goes into your sales tax fund, 212, and then the rest of the percentage currently is split out between HEDC and then that debt retirement. And then when the fire department comes on for their sales tax, then it'll be a different breakout formula, so we'll have to figure that out. But it's the sales tax is the biggest portion, and then split even between the other two currently.
Okay.
So
you said the first one was the debt retirement for what again?
for your priorities,
Yep,
Property tax,
property tax, and then
Property
second
tax.
was utility.
utility rates.
yep,
And then third is to pay off any bonds, or I think third is bonds or loans to,
And then are you required to spend the funds by a certain time? You can bank them up.
we can bank them up. We had banked them up for quite a while, and that's where we were able to, a year ago, use some of those funds, or 2 years ago, to use a lot of those funds to help pay off and move stuff around, so we didn't raise rates.
yep.
My brain is like really churning here, because if you do the transfer in this year with a slight increase, you know, is it, you increase it again next year, you do another transfer, increase in another transfer? That worries me a little bit.
I do feel comfortable with Casey's numbers, though, that before we were at a shot in the dark of what we were at, where she knows exactly where we're at with these numbers
With these
than we were at
scenarios.
when we were a year ago. And when we have not, so the last time we raised rates, we added $2 on to pay for the loan, and then we changed the way that we bill, because before it was, you got the first 900 gallons free, and then we billed after that. Well, now it's billed from the beginning. So those are the only changes we've added into sewer in a while.
Rates themselves haven't increased in water or sewer for quite some time.
They never have since I've been here, so, but I'm pretty sure that they have gone up from, let's see,
Yep, your guys' expenses have gone up in both funds too, and a lot of that's based on salary and, benefits. Because right now, just to give a friendly reminder, right now your guys' public works salaries are being paid out of electric. Majority of your public works employees have 60% of their wages paid out of electric, and the other 40 out of water. So then going into 25, everybody's broken out a little bit different just based on their majority of work that was documented in years past. But it's a little more evenly spread. Wages will come out of water, sewer, electric, garbage, and streets is where they'll be coming out of for 25. So.
Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? We'll take a vote then on the motion that's made. Paul?
Yes.
Yes.
John? Nicole?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries.
Okay.
Clarification, Casey, on your budget that's online for 2025, for debt retirement, you had estimated expenditures for 2024. One was 918,000 and one was 616. Are those done?
I'm gonna come look at yours real quick. Hold on. Because my tablet's pretty slow.
So this is debt retirement, and there's your revenues like you figured, 240. But we have these. I don't see anything on here.
So those would have been, yeah, so those.
Oh, here it is. That's it.
So this is what you guys had budgeted for the 24 budget. And that's not saying necessarily that you had to spend it, you know, there. We did end up doing transfers in December of last year, and I can get you what those numbers are. But yeah, I didn't schedule anything in the 25 just because I didn't know what you guys would want to do, so.
But these were not done.
You guys had transfers in 23, but we
This
didn't.
was 23.
Right, yep, so that was in 23. This was not done in 24. We haven't done any transfers out of debt retirement in the 24 year.
Okay.
Yep,
Thank you.
yep.
So then the next one is electrical rate, and I assume, but that's a no change, so you guys, until we get the rate study done, that'll be our best option.
Yep, I didn't see any reason to raise them because the only reason we needed to was due to projected salary increases.
Right.
And without those, there was just no need to.
Okay. In this back sheet, that is just for us, is there any requests that you need tonight?
Just the main requests are, unless it's okay to do these transfers, the very top transfers are everything that was budgeted in the 24 budget to complete. You guys can see the numbers right there.
Well, I just seen they were approved, so I thought we already did the transfers, so do we need to make another motion to approve it?
I haven't done these transfers yet. I just didn't know, what the auditors would like since they're very, I don't know a nice word for picky at the moment, but they're very, very picky. There you go, thorough. That's a great word.
So
They're very thorough with the meeting minutes and seeing when those transfers are done. So
we should probably do it again just to clarify that these are the approved transfers.
I would like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion then for the 2024 transfers again for year end?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved by Jason, seconded by John. Is there any other discussion? Paul?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries.
Okay.
Then, that is it for this. Are these, oh,
The next ones would just be what are approved for 2025. I didn't know, my thought was to do transfers in 2025 for the 2025 budget, and then they're done. And then every single public works department knows what they have to work with for the 25 year. I just like to do them early if I can. If you guys want to wait, I'm totally fine with
I
that
like
too.
that.
I think
I'd rather
that's
do
good,
them early on, then you know what you have in there.
but let's do it. So next meeting.
Okay, so hold off on that for next
Yep.
meeting. Okay, and then I just have a budget amendment request. Tyler Technology, and this is at the bottom, Tyler Technologies came in a little bit higher than what I expected. I budgeted 80 grand for it, but the quote came in at 86,769. And I know the auditors will ask about that if they see that expense being higher. So I'm just requesting an amendment to that. And this would come out of the equipment fund.
Is there a motion to approve that?
What was the reason for the increase? Like,
There were a couple of modules that weren't in the original quote. When we talked about it back in December or January, it was like in the $77,000 range, I
Right.
think. Yeah,
and
and,
being in the 70s.
yep, and when all was said and done, it came to 86,769. Yep, so.
Do we have a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion for that increase to 86,769.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Paul, seconded by Nicole. Any other discussion? Jason?
Sir, yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries. The next item then is the Red River Valley Water Supply Interim Financing Agreement. JR, did you have a chance to look over all of that? That looked okay.
Yeah, looked all standard to me.
Okay. Unless anybody has any questions, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Paul, seconded by Nicole. Any other discussion? John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Next item, Paul, is this, do we need a motion on we're canceling the contract, or it already is a contract, or just a point of information?
It's just more a point of information, I think. I think we just, I don't know if they really need anything, Casey, just more or less, you had to email them saying that we approved to discontinue that, so.
Yep, and I haven't sent them, when I talked with Sam, I let him know that I wanted to talk with you guys first, just to make sure it was a general consensus, I guess, but, MRES, we have a contract with MRES, we spend about $2,800 a month with them for Sam and I believe it's Alex to come up here in the event if there's like an emergency that the guys can't handle on their own. Well, right now we have a agreement with Moorhead Public Utilities to do the same kind of service, and they're a lot closer, and their availability is, a little more open than Sam's crew right now.
And it was an on-call agreement, and of course, that's the reason we went, that's why Sam brought in Moorhead Public Service to do what Sam was doing. So basically, well, now that seems like it's working, it's processing, everything is going good for Roy, so we felt, in talking to Sam too, he felt that we didn't need them, not that he definitely would come if we needed something, but then it would just be on a hourly basis, just like if you were to help anything, so. So he was, everybody that I've talked to, whether it's Moorhead, Barnesville, MRES, and Roy, everybody they have no problem, discontinuing that contract, so unless somebody does here, that's why it was brought up, just to kind of let everybody know where we were at and making sure everybody knew it just, we've been doing it for a few months, and it's every time I see the bill, I think, look, we really need to pay $2,800 a month, because we're really probably not going to ever really need them. And if they still can come, just like NODAC in an emergency, they're going to come, so.
Great. Okay. Any other questions on that? All right. The phone app renewal conversation. Casey, you want to?
Yes, so our current app, it's not going to be funded anymore. When you guys signed up for it, same with a lot of the other communities in the state, it was funded through a grant through the state. Doesn't sound like it's going to be funded anymore. So if you want to continue with the current app that we have, it's going to be $750 a year starting in, we'll require an agreement in February. First payment would be in April that, where that $750 would be due. Just in hearing, some discussion in previous meetings about possibly looking at a different app or an app with more capabilities. I didn't know what your guys' feelings were. If you want to stick with this one, or if you want research to be done on other apps. I haven't done any research yet, so I wanted to put it out there to see what you guys thought.
Question I'd have is, do you know how many people actually have downloaded or used our app?
I can find that out.
Okay.
Yep.
I'd like that before we make a determination.
Sure. Any other questions that I should
When
research?
did you say that need to be renewed by? What?
February, yep.
Wasn't there something tied to Tyler Technologies too?
There might be.
I think they can send out notifications.
Yes.
The
Text
text
messaging more than an app, wasn't it?
Yep.
for different things.
Yeah.
I have a meeting with them again next week, so I'll ask.
That does sound right.
Yep, that does, yeah.
Okay.
How many people?
And they do, Abby, they all have access that they can do texting on the team, so I know they do that a lot with the guys back and forth.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else in the phone apps?
Nope, that was it.
Okay.
You're gonna put that on next?
Yep. Yep.
The next item is the comp time policy discussion. And I know Casey talked to us a little bit about it and she wanted to put it on here, so I'll let her give a little more detail on that.
So in our policy manual, we only have one section of the handbook that lightly discusses comp time, and that's in relation to overtime. It's on page 21, where employees who have overtime hours can switch those out for 5 days worth of vacation that have to be used within that same year. But other than that, comp time, in my opinion, it's a bit of a liability for the city to kind of keep track of, especially when there's not a module in our current system for it. And we don't have, outside of the overtime portion of it, we don't have it laid out in our handbook anywhere where comp time is available. Overtime needs to be requested or approved through supervisors too. So throughout the years prior to me being here, it's just been standard practice that employees build up comp time. It's documented on a spreadsheet, and that's kind of been it. It's never really been tracked, I guess, or monitored real frequently. And that's where a few previous employees really had high banks of comp time because it wasn't addressed in years past. And I would just like to, I guess, kind of be done with comp time, so.
And I assumed that after Jim and some of the other ones had left, that practice had been gone, but it didn't fully get out because there was a few that were residual. I think the comp time that we have for the overtime, where it has to come to us for approval so that they could take full days off, that was meant, the reason that was put in is, let's say we have a 4-day storm and we have guys that are working, put 120 hours in, but they wanted to take off time in April or one other time, but they wouldn't have it, that they could transfer it, but it was supposed to meant that they got approved, and then it would go back. I don't think it's an issue. This turned into an issue, but it should have been only like, I think the practice started as, well, I need to leave at 3:30 today, so can I come in a little bit early? But it should have been handled that week, not banked for months on end.
Well, and so comp time is not to be in exchange of, according to what I was reading as far as like laws. Comp time is meant for over 40 hours a week, paid at time and a half, and that it is paid out by year end. The issue I see with it is when you're utilizing comp time in place of hours, which you are not to be doing. And the problem I see with it is the issue with the budget, because we don't know how many hours are going to be comped and paid out by year end, which throws the budget phase off, I think. Those were a couple of things that I would see as some of the issues of that.
Right, and that was meant on that, the one that we do have comp, that it's supposed to be figured out by the end of the month. You say, I'm going to take these days off, I'm going to use them by the end of the year, not keep them forever. And that's where we ran into problems. So I don't know that we necessarily need a motion on it. Casey needs clarification. So if anybody's not on the same as what Casey said or what Nicola said, we can have more discussion on it, but it's basically that from now on, nobody else, you can't bank your time at any point in time unless it comes before the commission for those 5. And what I had told Casey was, you know, if somebody needs to sneak out to go to their daughter's game or somebody else's game and they want to leave a half hour early if they work over lunch, but it's got to be like that day or that week, not 2 weeks down the road.
On our policy manual, did we change that 8 hours, or is anything more than 8 hours, time and a half?
And
We eliminate that?
we did, yep, policy just has the 40 hours a week.
Okay, so then really essentially if you wanted to do that, you could, like you said, come in and out. If you need to take off an hour early on Friday, you could come do an extra hour without getting regular, but you still hit your 40, nothing more.
Right, but what some were doing was taking,
Right, so they could still do that, they just no more comp time, it's after 40 unless we follow the manual.
and it's that week, not like
Yeah,
none of this long
It's just
term.
easy, yeah, it's just
Yeah.
easier if you just pay
No, I
out your
agree
time
with
and a
that.
half, because then you know where you're at month to month.
Yeah.
Payroll to payroll.
Mhm.
You know, they're got vacation days, there's so many that can roll over, so, you know, you've got that payout the following year, so, you know, you still get that benefit, I think, there. The hard thing is when you are using it in substitution of things, which technically you can't do. But, you know, then does it become a habit for everybody else? And that's kind of where I think it becomes an issue.
So an example, I have a kid that's got a wrestling tournament, I have to leave at noon on Friday. If I work 3.5 hours, or 2.5, whatever it might be, during the week, that's okay then? So if I work like 10 hours one day, that's what you're saying they can do or not?
What you can.
So as long as they get their 40 hours.
Yeah, you can work your 40 hours. What you can't do is, like, I can't work 8 hours or 40 hours and then I comp, you know, and then like the following week I take that in lieu of. That's not how it's written. Comp time is written as I work above and beyond, I get paid time and a half, period. You don't use it in substitution too. Now what some people do is work an 8-hour day and might either come in early or come in late or whatever. That's done in that day. That's different.
But it's still more
just
than 8
enough.
hours.
No.
But you're not comping your time that way. You're not using it in lieu of another week or another day.
But they're not working more than 8 hours a day, they're just working different time frames of the day.
So it can't be, so if they wanted to leave 2 hours earlier, they'd have to come in 2 hours earlier
Technically, if you want to make up your 4-hour week.
of that particular day. So they couldn't work an extra hour a day for a couple of days to make it up to what you're
as long
saying.
as it's in the same
As
week,
long
I
as
would
it's in
think
the
so.
same period.
As long as it's the same period.
And that's just,
Because then it's not
that's how I
causing
looked
comp.
at
I
it.
see what you're saying is, it causes comp once you go over the 40, because then also technically if you do a comp program like that, you have to pay them back the time and a half as well.
Correct. Yep.
Mhm.
Because I always go by a 40-hour work week
Right.
in my business. If I work, if you work 20 hours for 2 days, you work 40 hours, and that's, you know, that's what it is. I'm not gonna, your 40 hours are done. But I'm saying, you know, that's why I'm asking, is because, you know, that's one way of doing it. But, you know, I don't want to pay them if they're getting work done. Well, that's kind of why the county, I'm guessing, does 10-hour days in the summer, because they can get more done in 10 hours than they can.
And then
So it's
they-
the same
yeah.
way here. Then
They're done and
so,
there's no
right.
comp. Private sector, you can't.
If they want to comp, they have to use what's in the policy, that they have to get it approved, and it's only 5 days. And it should be approved that month. Okay,
You're okay with that?
that's good, Casey?
I think so,
clear
yeah.
enough?
Yeah, that helps me out a lot. So if anything else comes up, I'll address it with you guys at that time. So, thank you.
Cell phone discussion with John Hams, I assume he wants to get switched.
He requested an upgrade to his phone, and I, said I just didn't know. He did I believe he relayed, I'll have to find my note in the office, but he requested a phone upgrade, and he was due for one. But I believe Jim Anderson used his upgrade a while back earlier this year, because his was busted, if I remember right. So, We do have another one coming up if you guys do want to allow John to have a phone upgrade. He said he'd be available for phone calls, if I remember right on my note, after he is finished with employment in January. So I said I'm really not too sure what the commission's policy is on that, so that's why I brought it in front of you guys.
My thought is if he's or if he's leaving, then if he wants to transfer the phone number to his name and do his own upgrade, he can do that, but I don't think us as a city should pay for another upgrade.
No, the only person that this was just me, said it was Jim Anderson could keep the phone for a year as we're doing this transition so that we'd have him ready available, and it's under our phone purview. But if John's done, I would agree that, you know, I don't think we should be doing that.
Okay.
Any other thoughts on that, Paul?
Yeah, I don't know, it depends on how much he does get called, I guess. I mean, I'm guessing most of the calls go to Jim, but, I don't know what kind of cost we're talking here too.
Probably $800 to $1,500.
Oh, well.
When people leave, do they keep the cell phone number, or do they get a different phone?
I've seen it done a few different ways. So, I know Harwood viewed it as city property, both the number and the phone itself. So
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering, because, I mean, right now he could get a brand new phone, new line, new plan all on his own without the city. That's why I'm wondering, like,
Right.
is that an easier thing? But then you retire that number too, which might be easier when you don't get the phone calls. I guess that's,
and
I just see it different ways at different
Well, and we found out later after the fact, like, we assumed that when our last employee quit, that the phone was handed over to somebody else, but it was sat in a desk drawer and we were paying for a phone that nobody used. So,
because I think you usually retire the numbers and
right.
you get new ones, new phones, new lines.
well, and quite a few of the public works department use their city cell phones as their personal phones too, and I think this is the case. So I'll refuse to do that. I always keep my own personal and the city.
Me too.
So
So I guess the answer is no. I assume we'll let him take the number if he wants, but he'd have to get his own.
okay.
Okay.
I'll read that.
The next item is to accept the letter of resignation from Coat and Eckel that was effective on the 11th, and then in the same motion you could open up for the position if you so choose, or it can be a separate motion.
I'll make the motion to accept and open up to hire.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I assume Casey, then you can post it as a public works employee, similar to what his position was at the beginning. And then we'll see what applications we can get.
Okay.
Is Public Works wanting to open up the position?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Is there any other discussion?
You're gonna change that a little bit, aren't you, what I understand?
I will talk with Jay again. We had a discussion about it, about the description. And I was initially requested to take items off of the description, to make it less intimidating. But my argument nicely back was, okay, are these the tasks that you are expecting an employee to work with? And if an employee isn't given those items that they're expected to do, can they come back at us and say, well, that wasn't in my job description, or that wasn't in the advertisement? So we had a decent discussion about it. There was one area that we kind of agreed on mutually to maybe take out, but I don't know what your guys' feelings are on there. There was a further request of qualification type area where future potential employee, it would be beneficial to have electrical experience. So do all the other duties, but to have that electrical portion. Jay and I did think that maybe that could be taken out if you guys don't want this employee very focused in the electrical area. So
Well, and I'll clarify, Casey, my main thing was, is this would be the time if we are gonna change anything, is what I'm kind of getting at. If we wanted to update that job description you know, it would be nice if there's things that he would like, you know, is it things that we need to come back to us, or is it something, how do you want to handle that, you know? So if there is anything, and I don't know if there's anything you want to change or not, but.
Outside of the electrical, I didn't feel there was, but I'm happy having the discussion again, just because I wanted something that was very transparent with a future employee. So I don't know how you guys want to handle that. Because it discussed the streets, you know, helping with the electrical, nothing expertise-wise. Qualifications for the position are high school diploma, a driver's license, and you gotta be 18 and older. And you gotta pass a pre-employment drug test. So those are the only 4 requirements. Yeah, and basically just general labor under the different departments is what our current advertisement has on there.
So if you took electrical out, there's potential that they could say, even if it's driving the truck over to wherever, well, that's not my job because that's electrical department and that's not in my job description.
I think we can just keep it kind of vague, because if we need to lay out every single duty they're gonna do, they're always gonna have something they can come back at us for.
Yeah, there should be just a generalization of their tasks and duties, and responsibilities.
And we haven't had an issue with that job description so far, so
Yeah.
unless somebody wants to change it.
Isn't there, like at my workplace, they have a line in there for duties as assigned by supervisor.
Mine's in very, very tiny print. You need a magnifying glass to see it, but it's there.
I think it might be in there.
I thought it was.
I mean, usually always, you know, that you kind of come with the assumption that your job is going to evolve, you know, and sometimes tasks will be taken off and some will be put on and as such. So, I mean, you can't really hone in on you do this, because that's all we're going to focus on.
I do believe, and that's why we've went to the contract when people start, is it's on that contract, not necessarily always in the job description.
I don't think we should continue that contract either. I've never signed a contract with my employment. I don't know. To me, that seems like more of a, only place that I've heard that really does a contract is a teacher. They do yearly contracts. That's because they're up for renewal every single year. I'm not a huge contract person. I think we have the job description and they accept the job, and they accepted the job. That's my thought.
Yeah, I've never signed contracts. I've signed memorandums of understanding. And
I guess it's not a contract, it's employee agreement, is what it's called.
employee agreement.
Because I know some people have said that they're intimidated by those agreements too, so like I said, I don't see a point for it. My just personal opinion, I think when you give them a job description, you do the interview, you do the talking, they accept, you accept them accepting. I mean, that's a done deal. Otherwise, I think, because JR, you write those up, right? So we're also incurring the legal fees to have that written, and I just had never heard of it done.
Okay, we have the motion on the floor to open the position and accept the resignation. Is there any other discussion? Nicole?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries. There's nobody here tonight, unless...
Hey.
Reminder that we are closed on the noon on the 24th and then on the 25th. And unless somebody else has anything for the good of the order, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I just have quick, I don't know what you guys all were able to talk about before I got here, but I did talk with Ben and I talked with Levi a little bit. He is gonna try to see if they'll accept the motion to amend it to pay for Tyler. If they say no, we'll just come up with something else. If they say yes, then we can hold a vote to go through with it, or else we can still amend it. So that's what I know.
Okay. Do you have anything else, Jason?
I do not.
Okay.
I do have one thing.
Okay.
I was visiting with the guys this morning and it kind of got, the conversation went to they would really like to see us set up a meeting to just have casual conversation about what's expected of them, what they're kind of looking for us to do, and just kind of sit down. Of course, public and everybody's invited, but they would like to get everybody in one room and let's talk. what are your expectations, as far as communicating different things, because right now, we have a lot of projects going on, but we haven't really talked about, okay, how are we gonna prioritize some of this stuff? And they're kind of like, okay, does the council, is this more important or not? And they just feel like the supervisors, that they just don't feel like, that would help them get a better feel for where we're coming from. And yes, it would involve having us taking a time one evening or whatever to do that. But I just think it's good from the standpoint of it's just good for us to get to know, our employees a little better, and they get to know us a little bit better, and we can, and we can hopefully all get on the right page as far as how, because we always have issues, of course, with communication, so it's maybe better, they just suggested, and I agreed, that it would be nice to do that sometime. And there would be no real agenda other than just kind of opening up to concerns, questions, or things that are going great, whatever it might be, so we can just kind of have that camaraderie, so to speak, between us and our employees, so they kind of know where we're coming from, and we know where they're coming from. So just a suggestion. I know everybody's busy, but I know they really appreciate when we come and visit with them. So.
Well, I think it also helps us understand what projects are going on as well. Because, if you're doing something and you need to plan something else that needs to be fixed, then we can get it done. So, yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Anything else, Paul?
No, that's all.
Anybody else have anything we're gonna go to the order? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.